Welcome back to Teachers Talk. It's been a week or maybe 5 minutes since our last episode. We're not sure. I'm not at this time. Previously, we were talking about students, SEL, being physical, regulating, connecting, and reflecting. And now we're going to talk about teachers and some teacher needs and how to get those needs filled so that we can be helpful and supportive for our students as well. It's been a very stressful time for me, for sure. I think about 1:30 every day, I just want to lay my head down on my desk and just sit there for a little while. But that's right in the middle of a class, so I can't do it. It's not the class that's the problem. That's just when everything bubbles up. I yelled at my dog today during my Avid meeting. I was just like, I turned around, I'm like, oh, would you just stop barking? And then I turned back around and I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. I don't do that ever in meetings. So this is a bubble up. And it's embarrassing. But also, you got to find ways to deal with that in a healthy. And since I've been 100% isolating myself from the world around me, except for shopping excursions, it's been really hard to do that. So, great. Now that I've just thrown that out there, why don't we each introduce ourselves and talk about our own struggles? Who wants to go first? Molly.
All right. Well, so am I supposed to introduce, I'm Molly for those that didn't watch the last episode. I teach at Cascade High School, teach science. I'm a little bit newer to the mindfulness game as far as defining these practices, but realizing that I've employed a lot of them just naturally in times of stress. I'm pretty good at recognizing when my own brain is totally out of whack, and thus what I need to do to get it back on track. I'm also very good at slipping into bad habits, bad stressful habits, and kind of playing the whole woe is me, my job is so hard, wah for a while, and then realizing okay, that's so not productive and I need to fix that. But I was gonna start with this aha moment that I had in a meeting a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. So I'm part of a UW fellowship cohort group, and we're actually talking about SEL in schools, specifically with regards to anti-racist teaching, and kind of the question of if we're teaching kids to step outside and take a quiet, take a moment, is that teaching them a certain way to regulate emotions that might not necessarily be inclusive to other ways of regulating emotions? And there's a lot more than that. But anyways, we were talking about with the expectation that teachers are teaching SEL and that teachers are teaching students how to regulate and how to deal with stress and anxiety, or how to at least recognize it. And someone brought up the point, how can we require teachers to be teaching SEL when we might not be good at it ourselves? And I thought back to last year when we implemented Character Strong, and there were mixed reviews from it. And from the students in certain teachers' classes, they really liked it because that teacher maybe was really good at their own, reflection of their own emotions and figuring out how to regulate and how to calm down and how to, be present and mindful. And then the other teachers who aren't good at that, their students hated Character Strong because it was being forced down their throat. And the teacher, it clearly wasn't authentic to the teacher. And I just had that, that's so, how can we teach SEL if we're not even good at it ourselves? It's just that's been blowing my mind for the last couple months since I heard that, or since I made that connection. So there's me.
All right, I will go. I was loving to my dog today, and I'm Lisa Summers from Black Hills High School. I teach PE. Adults, colleagues, teachers that I know across the country. I think the biggest struggle is time. And for me, I've had to really ground myself in committing to getting my heart health on, because that's been my jam. That's my go-to. That's been my way to regulate. It's my road therapy. It's my, oh, I can listen to an audiobook. Oh, it's my, I can do a podcast. I can jam out to Cyndi Lauper, whatever, right? But I struggle with the complex of helping everybody else but myself first. And so if you are in this pandemic, right, you're thinking of everybody else. Okay, I got to get groceries for my neighbors. I got to mow the neighbors, like all these things. And then you look at your family, and family has all these very unique dynamics that are going on, especially all of us. I'm assuming all of our parents are in the category of 70 and older. If not, I apologize. And so we're worried about them. If you have kids, you're thinking, I've got to wrap my hands around them and hug them and love them because I'm their best friend and maybe their only contact. And that's tough. And so I have to every single day say, Lisa Summers, you cannot be you, and you cannot help anybody else unless you help yourself. Now, get the sneakers on, and the hardest decision is made within like 30 seconds to a minute. Because if I commit, once I got the sneakers on, I'm good. I'm good to go. But I can go, oh, hold on, maybe I need to check that slide real quick. Oh, maybe since we're talking about this, oh, there's a perfect song that I don't know about. Or I hear my phone, doot, 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 and it's a kid turning in work, and I go, oh, I better put that into the grate. Like I can put off because it's everybody else. And I found myself going down the rabbit hole come March, and I was like, this is ridiculous. It's 30 minutes to 60 minutes. So what I've found is I am way more productive. I can go longer in the day, so I can have more duration if I give myself 30 to 60 minutes. It's amazing how much more stuff I can do. And if I'm being asked to be a machine, then I got to take care, you know, of the Corvette, so to speak. I just require a lot more maintenance. And so I got to get myself out so that I can get down the road. So that's my 2 cents. For me, I'll let Malia talk, and then maybe we can talk about how we can support each other's health as adults and colleagues.
Do you still try and go outside every day?
Yes. Yeah, so it was wet this morning.
So like you roll out of bed and you're out the door.
Yeah, so typically I open up the curtains, feed the cat, you know, say hello and love my dog. And my child's completely asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Husband is in the back office, and I just go get the sneakers and I grab my phone, and I don't have AirPods. I'm still super out, and I plug in with my big old, you know, headphones, and I just go. Yep. Once I get out, I'm good. Sometimes I'm mad because I'm like, gosh, I should have woke up a little bit earlier, because once I get going, I feel like I could even go a little bit longer outside, right? Yeah. Because if not, think about all those distractions: laundry, dishes, what are we gonna have for breakfast? Is my Chromebook ready? I mean, the struggle is so real. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a lot of distractors right now between my dog and my kids.
And the other thing is just, you know, I think of my friends, and they're just like, oh, you're always in such a good mood, or whatever they assume about me. And I'm like, oh no, are you kidding me? This is, if I didn't have going outside to get out of this space that I feel like I'm, right, just hunkered down for life in, there's no way that I would be struggling even more, right? So, and I can't convert everybody into what works for me, and I don't want to. I just want to remind them, if it is whatever it is, to just do that. You know, we're not all runners, we're not all dancers, we're not all Zumba-ers or pushing weight, whatever it is. I mean, you got to figure it out, and if you feel better, then do that again and just try to build upon that habit. And it would be nice if we could go invite each other. Hey, let's go for, well, we're breathing hard. There goes that, right? And nobody likes a mask can't have a conversation. So it's tough right now. So there's a lot of introspection. There's a lot that you have to show up for yourself for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I say this to my kids every day. No one's going to value your health more than you do.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're a parent or whatever, if you're not showing that example for your kids, how are they going to learn it? How are our students going to learn it? And again, something is better than nothing, right? Like one kid today is like, I haven't been able to do anything summers. I'm like, buddy, today we've got to warm up for 10 minutes. If you can just give me 10 minutes, there's choice in it. There's good music. I think you're going to like it. And then at the end, I was like, dude, how are you feeling? He's like, feel a lot better. I'm like, wasn't that fun? Yeah, that was fun. And just building, like, it's so great to move and you feel so much better. All right, I'll shut down.
So when the pandemic started, I kind of went into like huge self-care mode. I would wake up before the rest of my family and I would meditate. I had a journal. Then when school was over, I would exercise. I'd walk my dog. I did all this stuff. Then summer came along and whoosh, all of those habits went out the door and did not come back literally until about 2 weeks ago. And so now I look back on like my September and most of my October and I'm like, I was just in a fog. Like most of the time I did not realize how foggy my brain was because it just didn't clear out. Like yesterday, you guys are going to think it's funny. Because I felt so good because I've started taking care of myself, I actually went into the office at my school and said hi to people. Like I hadn't even been like saying hi. Like I just would like go right up to my classroom and like not talk to any adults but I was like, yesterday I was like, hey guys, how's it going? And I'm sure they were like, whoa, where did Renner's come from? But it's just the motivation part. Lisa, I'm like, there's too many times where I let that 30 seconds happen and it just goes right on by. I'm like, oh no, I don't really have to put on those shoes. Mainly because I'm not someone who enjoys exercising very much. I have to really force myself to do it, even though I know I feel so much better after I do it. So yeah, I just got to figure out my routines.
Like Erin Jones and I were talking yesterday and she's like, oh, you just love to run. I'm like, I don't love to run, people. Okay. I don't. It's the one time where I answer to no one, right? And I love being outside. Like I'm like, there's my deer, there's the bird. Like I see these deer all the time. It's like just where I live. And I just love that. And then I love just zoning out and not thinking about anything but whatever I'm listening. I just love that. And I love the feeling of just when I'm done. It's just like everything to me. So that's always what I'm chasing, is the feeling that I get. It's not the running, because good Lord, this woman is only getting older, right? Holy mo. So it's not that. So I correct people all the time. There's other things that I would enjoy more, but it requires, you know, other people and pieces of equipment. But running has always been just, for whatever it's been, I've told myself, it's road therapy. This is how I present my better self to the world, to my students, to my family. So 30 minutes, all right, we'll do it. And plus I love a good sneaker, right? So
I guess this brings up the next question, which you've already prefaced, but I love the question at least because it connects to some of mice and men themes that we're studying in freshman English right now. And that is, how much are we responsible for supporting our colleagues and peers in the same kind of processes, and how do we do it? Like, how do we, especially like for me, in an environment where the only time I talk to my colleagues is in PLC meetings or when I go down to the office to say hi to the office staff, which used to be daily and now is like once every 2 weeks. How do we go about providing support for our peer, our colleague teachers, especially if no one's asking for the help, which is, I mean, that's the hard part for me, is I don't want to feel like I'm intruding on anyone's time and space, especially because I don't want people to help me when I don't need help, because it just gets in the way of my progress and success, and causes damage sometimes. So how do we go about doing that? It's good starter question. Big question.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I guess is my answer. But I do want to say, Brian, I just thought of this because of what you said. In the first 2 weeks of teaching, I was asking one of my classes of teaching remote this year about how things were going. And one of my students said, I can tell when my teacher is stressed out on Zoom. And when my teacher's stressed out on Zoom, I don't want to be there. And I was like, whoa. We forget as teachers how much we set the tone for our class and emotionally. But when teachers are really stressed out, I don't know how to like help them regulate, right? Like how, without being critical or seemingly critical, like I don't know how to, I mean, other than saying, hey, let's go for a walk, right? Or let's go for a, which by the way,
Your
Molly,
trick the other day to me, yeah.
no, I was just about to say, when I asked you to go for a walk, that was to regulate me, not you.
But I definitely needed it then too.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that is such a good question, Brian. Holy crap. I do know that I'm like really tied to the emotions of other people. And so if I am in a space when someone else is struggling and it's really obvious, then I get really affected by it. And so my tendency is to just like save myself and kind of like ignore the situation or like walk away rather than try to like, I don't know. And it's also hard to confront a colleague. Like, how do you confront someone you work with every day if they're obviously in a negative space? How do you be like, yo, you seem like you're not happy right now, let me, I don't know,
Mhm.
like, no offense, I don't really want to hear it. But at the same time, like, we're adults, we need, I don't know, that's such a tough question.
Mhm. And I'm like the opposite. I think I have like savior complex where I'm always, what can I do? What do you need? And you have to be then prepared because some people will give you a list, right? Um, and so at least like in my building, we have our own Google Classroom. I don't know if you guys have your own hub, and we post things. And I'm always just putting on there just different things that, the students and I have been doing in class, or different activities or suggestions. And you know what? You don't have to open it. We just launched, I was able to get this company to give us an app that 850 people can access. So that's our school and the staff. And I was like, hey, if you guys have a cell phone, which nearly all staff do, take advantage of this because it's got so many different resources within it, and it's free right now. Just try it. And a lot of them were like, oh my God, this is so great, because they are isolated and now they can count on this little trainer, I guess, if that's what they need. But, there are staff that are drowning, and it's because they're taking care of a lot of people right now. And again, it goes back to time. They just don't have any time. They might have their resources, right? Um, and I think just acknowledging where they're at and just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going through the same struggle. I'm thinking about my parents and making sure that they have food in the shelves, that they don't have to go, get toilet paper. And I want to care for people, and I'm helping my neighbor that just went through surgery. Like, I get it. I totally get it. And just to be heard sometimes is, what they need. But also I think of our and I know you guys will agree. Can you imagine if this is your first year teaching, and just reaching out to those people? Those have been where I just say, hey, how's everything going? And it's sometimes they just go, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, oh my gosh, just, you can hear the tone of their email. And then reaching out, we're all secondary. So many of our kids are teachers right now, and they are even isolated more because they may not even be in the town that they grew up in with their parents. And so they feel in their little apartments, in their little worlds, that they don't have any support. So just reaching out to them has been, I think, helpful to know that, hey, somebody's thinking, somebody's in the trenches like them, and then saying it's okay that it is tough, but you know what? We will rise. We will rise because we don't have a choice.
So this is why I think we should open up comments on this episode and future episodes, is because, I mean, we really started doing this because we were feeling this way and didn't have anyone to, like, it was, I mean, to talk about, like, how we were progressing through COVID. And so certainly I love the idea of like a staff hub, staff canvas page course where people can just throw stuff in there, because if people need it, then at least they have a place to access it. Right. And same thing, like there are going to be people watching this video at some point who are going to feel like now they have the opportunity to ask someone for help that they feel a lot more comfortable asking because they don't necessarily know them. So, I mean, that's one way, but I certainly love this staff hub thing. I'm already putting an email together now to suggest it to some administrators.
And the
I also,
go ahead, Malia. I'll wait.
well, Lisa, you just made me think of that also. Another solution could be that we could just start talking about this stuff as a staff, you know, like just start. I mean, and it sounds like you're already doing that, Lisa, but there, in staff meetings or department meetings or whatever, this could be a topic of conversation. It's kind of like how you started at the beginning saying, now we're talking about SEL with our students because of COVID. Well, maybe now also because of COVID, we can talk about SEL with our teachers too. So it's not a bad idea to start talking about it with teachers, with each other.
Yeah, because we're only quarter one in, right? So
Oh man,
we've got a long little journey to get through, and we don't know what's around the bend, if we want to use that. You know, we just don't. We don't know how we're gonna feel. We have no idea, right? It might get easier, it might get harder, but you know, one thing that I've done, at least with PE teachers, is I've just been sharing my stuff. I just go, and if they don't want to use it, I could care less. But I'm thinking, if somebody sent me something, and I was just working on something the other day, and you know, those Google slides, do they not take forever, right? Because they got to be pretty and they got to be catchy and exciting and whatever. You got to have all the content. It would be so great if all of a sudden, when I'm like, oh, I got this idea, if it was sent to me, I could use it, not use it, I could take it apart. But I've been doing that with, you know, kind of my little groupies, because I want to make it easier, right? And they don't ask for it. They don't go, oh, Lisa, send me all your stuff. I just send it. I'm just like, here you go, boop. There you have it.
Okay, we're running out of time. Molly, I want to give you a chance to jump in again if you wanted it.
I always have things to say. I mean, I always make a joke with my students. I'm like, I'm a teacher. I could talk for literally days uninterrupted. I'd be like the master of a filibuster, you know, like I've got so much to say. I do think that when it comes to our own like personal SEL, that being with people you're comfortable with matters. And so I'm thinking about like, if we do bring it up at a staff meeting, which I think we should, I don't want to have to like share. And I think that probably our students feel this way too. I don't necessarily want to engage with certain staff members, especially when people I just don't like straight up don't know. And I'm sure that I'm not the only staff member that feels that way. And that's, I guess, where like, not to like pin it on the admin, but like good leadership in this case, like really does matter with trying to be effective at this. And I think that oftentimes our own like teacher mental health gets overlooked because we are constantly taking on the emotions of however many, you know, 90 to 150 students that we have at that one time. And it's like, yeah, creating a space where we can also process our emotions, which like Malia, I think you and I do a good job of. We go on walks every once in a while, or like just text each other random things. Like Malia texted me 2 wins yesterday. Little things like that matter. And I think, yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of just rambling here, but getting, I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I
think you kind of find your people, you know, like you find your people in all the places you are. And so like, what's weird right now for me is like all 3 of you are my people. Like Lisa's my people from Teacher of the Year. Molly's my people from Cascade, and Brian's my people from Wenatchee. Like you guys are it. You're my people. And I text all 3 of you all the time. It's just to let you know. So I think it's important. Like we have to find our people wherever we're at. And I've been at 3 different buildings, and every building with a new staff, I've always searched for who are my people out there who I can go to, and because this is such a crazy job. It's isolating anyway, even when we're not in COVID. Teaching is isolating. And so, yeah, find your peeps.
And it takes a risk to find your people, you know?
Yes.
To support what Molly said, I don't like to always like air how I'm feeling. I'd rather just try to take care of others, like I said, and I'll just figure it out myself. But it takes a huge risk to kind of put yourself out there or to extend yourself to somebody else. I mean, I would have never met Malia, you know, if I was in my comfortable little box and just went, well, I'm just a little PE teacher, so I'm going to quietly be over here. And I tend to put guards up, you know, to protect myself, because sometimes it is exhausting to let more people in when I am the way that I am. But anyway.
We're at the end of the episode, 100%. Before I sign off, let's just share one thing we're looking forward to in the next 2 weeks. We're almost at Thanksgiving, so I don't want to like limit us to Thanksgiving. So what's one thing you're looking forward to in the next 2 weeks? Okay, great. Good stuff. That was snappy. This is Teachers Talk. I'm Brian. Thank you to Molly, Malia, and Lisa. Fantastic to meet you, Lisa. I hope that I see you again in the future. Please hit subscribe or like, or don't. I mean, we're not going to force you to do anything. Hopefully comments are open, and if you want to make a comment, do so. If you have questions, eventually we're going to have an episode where we answer questions, so we'll collect them. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.